what's up YouTube, this is EV Comics, and I thought I'd start a video like that because it's funny. Phenomenomenomenova is a series that I know nothing about, really. I actually just found out about it not too long ago. I had seen it in passing, but I didn't really get into it, and this was back before, like, I was even doing a lot of indie comic reviews and stuff like that. It was mainly just the Rippaverse stuff back then. It's the first time I caught a glimpse of this, but I saw this again. It came up in my Twitter feed, and I was like, you know what? This looks pretty good. I like the trailer. The trailer had like a sense of sincerity to it, and I don't know anything about Von Coleman. I know some people don't like him. I don't know the history. I don't know why people don't like him. I genuinely do not know anything about this person or the people who made this. And I wanted to stay like that before I read this comic because, as you know, I try and be honest in my reviews. I try and be as honest and not biased as I can to try and tell you guys if something is actually good or not. That's the whole point of this, right? That's the whole entire idea. And that's why some people think I'm an idiot for saying some of the Rippaverse books are good, all right? I'm not going to change my opinion about Alpha Core. I think it's a good one. But this comic kind of caught my attention because I do actually really like the artwork stuff being shown here and in the trailer. I really thought it appealed to me because it's kind of cartoony, right? And it's something that's kind of appealing to me because my comic is very cartoony as well. And this has more of like a comic book look to it than a cartoon look like mine. Like mine fully looks like a cartoon. But this has more of a comic book look to it. It's got some more of like the soft shading and stuff like that to things. A more kind of painted look in some aspects to it as well. Which just it looks, may I say, phenomenal. Anyway, let's actually get started with the review. So I'm gonna do a quick plot synopsis. So anyone who doesn't want to get spoiled on this, I'm sorry, the spoilers ahead. I'm not going to talk about every little thing, but I am going to kind of summarize the plot, and because part of the writing review is, reviewing if the plot is good or not. And I'm not going to be showing any pages except for a few that I've picked out, in some cases to make a slight critique, or in most cases to praise, because a lot of the stuff here is really good. And this comic feels, more than a lot of other comics I've read, this feels like it's begging. It's begging to be animated. It's begging to be a movie. It feels cinematic at times. And it's the kind of directing of panels that I haven't seen nearly as much. Like, I've seen that kind of stuff in Silence Dogood and in Rise Again Comics stuff. Especially Terror in the Trenches 2, that little clip, that little, not clip, but pages that got released last year that were teased at like the sniper battle where like the sniper girl is locked in and shooting everything, and Black Terror is pinned down, he's injured. That was a very cinematic looking couple of pages there, and I thought that was very good. And I have some similar moments in here, and I'm going to show a few of them just for the examples. But I'm gonna try and not show a whole lot of stuff because I don't want Von Coleman to electrocute me. I don't want to get struck by something more than electricity, aka copyright thing. So I'm not gonna be showing a whole lot. But this is the cover art, and actually I can go ahead and just show you the cover art by going to the browser real quick. I am reading this on Indie Crowdfund, and I chose to do this because I really like this tool. Check it out. You can flip the book open. And not only does it flip open, not only does it flip open like a book, but the pages actually turn. It actually turns. It's pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool. This is something that Mike Wheeler did for Indie Crowdfund, and I think it's a phenomenal feature. It makes digital comics feel more interactive, and it's, maybe you could say, oh, you're just exaggerating because it's cool or whatever, but not actually. It actually does make it feel more interactive whenever I'm reading this, whenever I'm having to do it. That being said, a way to quickly scroll through the pages would be nice. A little quality of life thing, Mike, if you're listening. A way to jump to specific pages, because having to do this a million times very fast, going back and forth. For me, for review purposes, I'm going back and forth and looking over at stuff again, and it is a little tedious, just a tad bit tedious, but because you can't flip through this as quickly as you could through like a comic in your hand, right? Like, like Silence Do Good here. I can just open this. Great book, by the way. Watch my review. I can just do like that and find whatever page I want very quickly. This, I have to click each individual time. Unless I'm stupid and there's a way to do it. I've looked. I don't see an option on the menu at the top right. So you can set bookmarks, which is nice. But and maybe if I was smart, I would set the bookmarks ahead of time while I'm reading so I can come back to it faster with the review. But I'm not smart, okay? I'm just an idiot who who makes YouTube videos. So, but anyway, it starts off here with this little page. Who apparently his dad, Von Coleman's dad, passed away during 9/11, which is sad. But if there's any reason to write a superhero story inspiring with, positive heroics, like actually like an uplifting, hopeful comic with superheroes and an optimistic viewpoint, that's a good reason. I think that's the reason to do it, right? So the first thing I gotta do, first of all, I like this page here. This is kind of, it's going over World War III, right? It's going over World War III, which is something that, a fictional thing that takes place here. There's superheroes involved, and one of the superheroes basically sacrifices himself. The first thing I gotta do, I gotta get out of the way before I do the plot synopsis. There is an error with this page. Now, this is not the case with the comic, I think, in the physical version, if there is a physical version, or maybe in prior digital releases. I don't think this is a problem. I've never seen this page like this before, but it is cropped out, so I can't read any of this. I didn't get any of that. There might have been vital information there, but I did not get it because something's wrong with the cropping there. And maybe this page as well. I don't know. This looks good. I mean, like, this could be a mistake as well, but it looks good perfectly by itself. By the way, this page is awesome. The fire dragon thing it's freaking amazing. I love that so much. But anyway, I will switch back to this so that I'm not spoiling anything else. I'm going to be flipping through the pages, but you won't be able to see me because, again, I don't want to spoil anything. But the main plot synopsis here, and again, spoilers, is the main story is about this kid named Miles, who initially he starts off as like a really young kid, like maybe he's like 6 years old, and then it jumps in time after his father has passed away. It doesn't say why his father died, but you can take a couple of guesses, considering he's very obviously modeled after Coleman's real dad. And you get to see basically him as a teenager. I don't know exactly how old he is. I just know he's in high school. And basically it's about this kid named Miles. He's the son of a World War III hero. His dad dies. Fast forward, he's exploring a cave with his best friend Freddy and his little brother. And basically, he finds this crystal. He falls through like a part of a cave and ends up in this like kind of underwater, not underwater, but a place, a part of the cave with water, so that he doesn't break all of his bones whenever he falls. And finds a crystal that's glowing like, bright green. So he takes it to school with him. And I wanna go over this page here because I think this page is really cool. Is this moment here? He's holding the crystal, and then bam, he's in school. Now, you might look at that and say, that's kind of a hard cut, right? This guy, whoever did the editing, and you know what? In fact, I can actually look and see who did the editing because it's on the freaking page here at the beginning. And I can just go ahead and read off all the stuff. Von Coleman is the writer and creator. Philip Cruz is the artist. Jesse Hege is the colorist. George Medina is the letterer. Joseph Servelin is the editor. And Reed DeCenso is the assistant editor. The editors / Von Coleman did really good with this shot, because what this basically is basically, imagine you're watching an animated show, right, or a movie, and I'm holding a crystal like this. Well, I'm holding the crystal the exact same way the next shot, but I'm in a new scene. It's basically saying, hey, this is the next day, and now he's showing off this crystal to everyone. I think that's awesome. I love this kind of thing. I do the exact same thing with some of my panels. Like I'll use the same pose, but in a different environment, or like a different something around the character is different or whatever. Like 1 second the character is just like standing here, then all like Little Miss Steele is standing here, then Tiny Chester is crawling up on her shoulder and saying something. You know what I mean? Like that I love to do that kind of stuff, and that's something that you usually see in like animation or movies. Even live action will do it sometimes, but in comics I think it's really cool when they do it, because it allows me to sort of like visualize how this would be if this was animated, right? I like, my mind is basically saying like, hey, this is an animated thing now, and it's letting my imagination go crazy, and I love that. I really do love that. But anyway, he takes this crystal thing to school, shows off all his friends, and gets in a fight with his bully, who's been a problem for a while. His friend Freddy and him are arguing outside after the fight, and there's a storm. Lightning strikes, and he wakes up in the hospital with lightning powers. The crystal is also gone as well. I thought that was a nice detail. Like immediately, like the page where he gets zapped, the crystal is gone. So I immediately picked up on the fact, oh, okay, this crystal just fused with bro, and now he's either got superpowers or super cancer, and he's going to die. And it could be both. But anyway, he basically shows his friend the powers. He spends a couple of days practicing. His friend helps him do that and everything. And I want to show the electricity effects, because I really like how the word, or I guess the sound, the automatopoeia, I think is what it's called, the bzzzt, is in the lightning. Like it's coming out of the lightning bolts. I think that's really cool. That's a nice little detail. It just fits naturally, instead of like being just detached from it or whatever, right? It's actually organically moved into the scene. I think that's really good. But he practices with his powers for a little bit, and then takes on his first superhero mission, his first bad guy beating. And it admittedly, even the story says he gets lucky. Even one of the characters later on says he gets lucky, and luck won't help him next time. And he ends up getting caught by this villain named Dark Cloud and frozen, wakes up again in a hospital bed, but this time he's in some kind of secret facility or superhero base or whatever. And one of the heroes in the flashback, which you can't actually see on the page because the way it's cropped out, unfortunately, on Indie Crowdfund, I'm sure that will get fixed before I even post this video. But the actual, like, one of the heroes is there talking to him, and I think I want to show this one too, because this is a really good page. What's the easiest way to show a passage of time than to show half of the face of the hero when she's young, and half of the face where now she's older and scarred, and showing there's a little bit, there's a story here, right? There's a story that hasn't been told yet, and I'm assuming it will get told as issues progress. But that basically kind of sums it up. She's basically saying, like, look, everyone knows you're the electric superpowered kid because you were showing this crystal around at school, you dummy. You can't even hide your secret identity. Everyone knows it now. So guess what? I'm gonna have to teach you how to use your superpower so you don't get anyone else hurt or yourself. And that's kind of where it leaves off. That's the cliffhanger. And I think that's a pretty solid story for a first volume. It's not anything like groundbreaking. It's not anything like brand new. And someone was talking about this comic and saying it was like very derivative, very not really a whole lot of originality going on. And look, at the point we're at in society, it's very difficult to make something that's completely original, right? Even a movie that's not attached to any kind of big franchise or whatever, like Sinners, right? Sinners. You got vampires, right? You're copying Blade, you're copying Dracula, you're copying Twilight, all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know if you heard that, but that was Butterbean yawning. That was very loud. She hasn't yawned like that in a long time. Now she's looking at me kind of funny. But anyway, the idea is basically it's impossible to make something completely original. Everything is a derivative of something, but for something to be really good, I think it has to be a derivative of multiple things, right? So you've got this, which is very much like a superhero type of thing. In my honest opinion, this story is kind of giving Overwatch vibes. And I'm not talking about the gameplay of Overwatch, thank God. I'm talking about the story, the world building of Overwatch, because it's semi-futuristic, right? It's not Batman Beyond or Spider-Man 2099 levels of futurism, but it is very much like sort of like modern, but with a little more high-tech stuff going on, it seems, because this takes place after World War III, and like years after World War III, and then years after that, because it was already after World War III, and they had rebuilt a society, or like a new place. That's another thing too. On page 1 or page 2 or whatever, Miles is talking to his dad, and his dad said, we decided to name this to create a new county and call it new something. Dang it, I forgot what it was. But it's new paradise or something like that. It's not New Paradise, but it's something similar to the word paradise. And I don't know if it was supposed to be new country or new county, because it says county, and it could be meant to say country. But either way, the world building is very similar to that of Overwatch, like the kind of almost futuristic, like almost super futuristic, but not quite. It's still recognizable as the world we live in today, but just a little bit different, it looks like. And I like that. I like the style of it. To me, this kind of feels like a weird fusion. And I'm not saying this is all intentional. It's not Silence Dogood levels of like futurism is what I'm saying. It's sort of like in the middle, right? And I don't know if it's intentional that Overwatch was one of the inspirations. I don't think so, but maybe. And even some of the designs of the characters kind of give me a little Overwatch vibes. But again, totally could be unintentional. But to me, it sort of feels like that. It feels like a mixture of maybe like Young Justice or, Static Shock. Kind of makes me think of that a little bit with the kid with electric powers, right? And yeah, he's got electric powers and he's got super speed. It's something that we see a million times. In fact, even the Rippaverse just recently did it. Not going a step even more so into that, and calling it Blue Shift, which is already the name of a speedster character made before this. So many levels of unoriginality, but did I sort of eye roll a little bit at the super fast lightning powered superhero? Yes, a little bit. I did eye roll at a little bit. But you know what brings it? You know what brings a story back, even if the concept is not super original. You know what makes the story good? The characters and the writing is good. You know what I mean? Like that's that. At the end of the day, if those two things are good, it doesn't have to be the most original thing for me. How many different versions of Transformers have I watched, and I'm like, yes, I love this because this is Optimus. They wrote Optimus right. Or they wrote Bumblebee really cool, or Megatron is really cool, or the dynamic between Optimus and Megatron is really cool. How many different versions of Transformers have existed that have now, like as time goes on, it gets less and less original because you can only do so much with these characters. How many times do we see that? And yet every time I find myself really enjoying Transformers. You know what I mean? That's at the end of the day. If the character writing is good, if the story is interesting, then I almost don't even care if it's very original or not. And this kind of does that to me because there's several moments here, and I want to show another page where he's brainstorming superhero ideas. Where is this at? I think it's this page. Hold on, let me hide this. Yeah, there we go. This where he's brainstorming superhero names. He's got like a different costume on. His friend is giving him a thumbs down and like face palming and stuff like that. And then finally he comes up with this costume. This feels to me very Spider-Man 1-ish, right? This feels very much like, Peter Parker, coming up with different costume ideas and names and stuff like that. But it's filtered through, unlike Spider-Man 1, which has a bunch of late 20-year-olds playing teenagers, and it's very obvious so. These characters all kind of look like teenagers, but they don't exactly talk like teenagers. And that's one of my criticisms of this. Is that Butterbean, what are you doing? Why are you barking? What are you doing? I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, the characters don't really talk like teenagers. They say things like, and I'll just show you an example. Where is it at? I think it's this page. Yeah, his best friend Freddy says, "Wow, you're fast, kid." Kids don't call each other kid unless they're like much older, much older than the other kid, right? Like me, as a 29-year-old, I'm not gonna look at another 29-year-old and say, "Good job, kid." I'm gonna say that to someone who's like 16. You know what I mean? And there's like a certain amount of dialogue in here that doesn't feel like a teenage kid is saying it. It feels very much like a grown man is saying it. And, you know, looks wise, I think they got the characters down pretty good as far as like, you know, like their fashion is very kid-like. They don't look like grown adults in the face. They look like kids. They do kind of look similar. The faces do kind of look similar to each other, but that's minor complaint, I guess. Not too big of a deal. Because the characters look different with their hairstyles and their outfits. I can tell who's who. You know, I don't have that problem with this book. I can tell which character is which. But the dialogue just seems a little, I guess, disjointed from how what the characters are. The characters are teenagers, and the other thing is that sometimes the dialogue can be a little too wordy. I found myself reading the page and thinking, this dialogue could have been trimmed down a little bit. Like, you didn't need this much dialogue on this page to explain what's going on here. There's a couple of inner monologue moments from Miles, a.k.a. Galvanite, which, by the way, great name. I love Galvanite. That's a cool one. There's a couple of monologues like that, right? But it's not too overbearing. It's just the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's like a slight nitpick. It's not like anything too bad here. It's just slightly wordy in a few areas. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. The actual action towards the end is pretty good. I thought the fight scenes were good. And I was worried that this was going to do the sort of thing where like, this kid who just got superpowers is going to beat up every single bad guy with ease on his first try. And while it's not exactly difficult for him to beat these armed goons who are taking over this nuclear plant, while it's not exactly difficult for him to do that, he does kind of get through most of it without any struggle, right? He's not. I don't think he gets hit once. I think he mainly just dodges it, and it's because he's got super speed, which makes sense. And it makes sense for someone like him to be cocky, to think, hey, yeah, I can go save people in a hostage situation. I'm a superhero. I can do it. And cockiness is kind of like, or not cockiness, but maybe short-sightedness and doing without thinking is kind of his weak point. We see that whenever he gets in the fight with the bully, and he keeps fighting after he's already kind of seems to be winning. He keeps fighting. And then he also, here, he jumps into a hostage situation without knowing anything about being a superhero, other than he can sort of use his powers. He can sort of control his powers, right? And, he goes in here, he breezes through fairly easily, right? Up until the named villain appears, which is Dark Cloud, which Dark Cloud is like, it's okay. It's an okay name. It doesn't really wow me like Galvanite. I think Galvanite is really good. Dark Cloud is kind of forgettable. And I think his design is kind of forgettable. I mean, it's cool. It's all black armor with like a red visor. It's cool. It looks cool. It's very much like, I'm the villain. I am Dark Cloud. And I think it works for this because this is very much like, it seems like an all ages type of book. There's no extreme blood. There's no gore or harsh language or anything. I didn't see any language. If I did, I totally forgot it, and I apologize if I did. But I didn't see any harsh language. It's very much a kid-friendly journey, and I like that because it means that the villain declaring his name, Dark Cloud, to me in a more serious, dark, grounded story, I would be like, that's cheesy. But in something that's very much looking to be like a kid's comic, I think it makes sense. I think it fits. I think it's perfectly fine. It doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to see if there's any more pages that I haven't shown off here. I showed you that one. This is another good example of like the cinematography, I'll call it, of this, where you've got like there's different layers to this shot, right? You've got Galvanite standing here. The lighting is like, he's lit from the front, so the back of him is really dark. And in front of him, in the distance, are these, just rows of cops. And beyond that, you've got this power plant, which is just massive in scale. And it gives you the idea that this is a task this is a very large task that's in front of the hero here. And it gives a sense of foreboding. Like, can he actually do this? Is he actually going to get out of this without a scratch? And at the time when I was reading it, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know where this story is going to go. I really don't. But it's really solid. It's really fun. Here's some of that action, by the way. I like this moment. I'm glad I pulled this up. I like this moment where he's like, careful, not too much electricity, just enough to basically knock him out. Because he's a kid, he's a hero, he doesn't actually want to kill these guys, which I appreciate that. I think that's cool, because reading this would be like, okay, he's zapping them, they're probably going to get back up. He's not actually killing these guys. But the writers and artists went out of their way to say, like, no, let's actually show him thinking about this and saying, like, I don't want to kill these guys. Let's not do this. Also, I haven't mentioned it up to this point, but people in this story kind of have the Code Lyoko 5 heads on some pages. It's not always 5 head levels, but sometimes they got 5 heads. And that's not a criticism. That's the art style, because everyone has this. And I appreciate that. It makes it look unique. And in a world of AI slop with anime characters, right? It's nice to see something a little more unique. Now, if this comic was made with AI, I'm going to delete my channel. But I don't think that's the case. It makes it stand out and makes it look unique. And I like that. I'll take 1,000 Code Lyokos over another generic anime type of thing that I forget about after I watch it after like 5 minutes. But yeah, I think I've shown all the pages. I really want to show off here. I think everything's I've kind of said my piece on it. I don't want to talk about every little thing. I do want to show you this awesome, I think it's a fan art cover or like an alternate cover that was included at the end of this. This is just sick, man. This is awesome. There's so much aura, if you'll allow me to say, coming off of this. Great composition, great lighting effects and all that. It just looks Phenomenomenomenova. Should I say? But yeah, it's really cool. I like this comic. And again, I want to clarify, I don't know anything about Von Coleman. I don't know anything about the artist, the letterer, the colorist, the editors. I don't know anything about these guys. So if you're watching this and saying you shouldn't like this because of the people who make it, I would challenge you to think about what I do here. I review comics, and in my opinion, this comic is really good. This comic is actually really good. I think this is a solid entry. It's not the most creative thing ever. There is like a bunch of exposition at the beginning, and then the story takes place, and like exposition at the beginning. If you're gonna do a big exposition dump, do it at the beginning. I just prefer whenever stories have exposition that's more like naturally flowing, like with dialogue that makes sense to be here. And yeah, I mean it makes sense for the father to be telling this story to his son. It makes sense, but it does feel like, okay, this scene is here strictly to inform the reader about the world instead of coming off natural like much of Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars kind of just throws you into a battle and you slowly uncover things. A New Hope is what I'm talking about. You slowly uncover, like, okay, this group of people that are getting shot, they're the good guys. This Princess Leia, she just sent off some plans for something, and you don't find out what those plans are until much later. Like, the exposition is delivered very naturally, and the only time when, like, a character is strictly, like, telling the audience and everyone in the room what's going on, it's the battle plans about the Death Star. And by then, you're already hooked into it, so it doesn't even feel like boring exposition just being told to you. It also helps that it's being delivered visually as well with the screen on Star Wars. Anyway, I'm ranting about Star Wars now. How did I get onto this? Phenomenomenomenova, great book. I think I got it, what was it? It was only like $5? I think it was only like $5 on Indie Crowdfund. What are you doing if you're not getting that? I mean, like, and again, I'll go back to, I'll pull back up the page here. This is awesome. Being able to flip and turn the pages is freaking awesome. It's kind of weirding out for me right now, but it's awesome. Like, you can click Okay, it's not letting me click from the bottom for some reason. Maybe I gotta scroll down. All right, I don't know what's up with that. Okay, whatever. Either way, you can click and actually turn the page, and it looks great. I don't know what kind of magic Mike Wheeler did to get this working, but it looks really good. It looks awesome. It feels awesome to do. By the way, it feels awesome to do. Obviously, it's not going to be as cool as actually flipping the page of a comic and seeing what's on the next page. But this is the next best thing, man. This is the next best thing. I'm showing pages of the comic. I didn't realize this. Please don't strike me, Von Coleman. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to show with this. So I'm going to stop before I get myself in trouble. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out my own comic, read Little Miss Steele on Global Comics, you can check that out. Or you can buy your own copy on Ko-Fi. The link to that will be in the description. $15 a piece. I'm working on trying to get some deals there where you can get like multiples like 1, 2, and 3 for $35 instead of $45. So I'm trying to work on that to try and make like a different, like a bundle sort of thing, because that's what I do at local events and stuff. And by the way, local event, last one I went to went great. I sold 3 comics there. It's great. I've got another one coming up pretty soon, and I'm excited about that. So thank you guys so much for buying the comic. Sincerely, thank you. Thank you for all supporting the indie crowdfund campaign. I do actually want to do a legitimate crowdfund where like I'm actually like I'm funding money to create a comic instead of just like basically using it as a pre-order site. Because it worked for what it is, but now that I've got my taste in that, now I feel comfortable setting up my own online shop with Ko-Fi. I don't feel like I had to do it through the crowdfunding form, and I can just sell it through a shop. But I do want to actually like do a crowdfund where like, hey, this book, do you think this book looks interesting? Raise this amount of money and I will create the book. And I want to do that with a couple things. I want to do that with Yishu because I've toyed with that idea a little bit more recently. I want to do that with the Monaco, a reboot of that, and I also want to do some other projects with it. Who knows what I'll do in the future? But Indie Crowdfund is definitely a great site. In the future, if I do that, I think I would use more than Indie Crowdfund. I think I would do it on like that and Fund My Comic, maybe Kickstarter as well. The only problem with doing it on multiple platforms is you're splitting your money across 3 different platforms, and that's where it can actually make it harder to reach your goal. So I'm ranting about stuff that doesn't involve Phenomenomenomenova, so I'm going to end the video here. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace out.